He was just the janitor to everyone else. Unnoticed, forgotten, almost invisible in his faded khaki uniform and rough, work-worn hands. But to the grand piano resting quietly in the corner of the hotel lobby, he was something more. To that piano, he was not a cleaner. He was a shadow of a life that once mattered, a ghost of music long buried. Every night, when the glittering chandeliers dimmed, and the last guests disappeared into their suites, he would approach the piano like an old friend. He wiped away the dust from its polished body and brushed his hand lightly over the black and ivory keys. For a brief moment, his fingers would pause, as if they remembered a time they belonged there, when music was his language, not silence. Yet nobody ever asked his name. Nobody cared to notice the way his gaze softened each time he looked at that Steinway. Nobody until she did. Before I continue, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the beauty of hidden talents, please take a moment to like this video, share it with a friend, and subscribe to Kindness Talks. Your support allows us to keep telling stories that remind us all of what truly matters. Her name was Veronica Langford. A sharp, striking CEO, known for her power, her confidence, and her unshakable poise. She carried herself like she owned every inch of ground beneath her designer heels. Because, in truth, she almost did. One late evening, while inspecting the hotel, she caught sight of the janitor, quietly humming near the piano. Amused, she tilted her head and smirked. "Do you even know what that is?" she asked, nodding toward the piano, her tone dripping with sarcasm. The janitor, his name was David, nodded softly, his eyes lowered but his voice steady. "Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major," he answered. His heart pounded, but his words were calm, certain. Veronica let out a short, cold laugh, the kind that stung more than it amused. "If you can actually play Chopin," she sneered, "I'll marry you." She tossed the words like a cruel joke, never expecting a response. She turned on her heel and walked away, unaware that her mockery had just ignited a fire inside him that had been buried for years. David's past was not what his uniform suggested. He had once been a prodigy, a rising star in the world of classical music, trained in a prestigious conservatory in Europe. But tragedy had stolen it all. A car accident claimed his mother, ended his scholarship, and destroyed the piano he called his home. Life spiraled downward. He lost not only his music but his place in the world. Homelessness followed. Scrubbing floors and cleaning restrooms became his survival. Not because he lacked skill, but because the world has little compassion for broken dreams. Still, whenever he could, he returned to the keys. Those brief stolen moments at the hotel piano, pretending, remembering, breathing life back into the person he used to be. But that night, after Veronica's cutting remark, something shifted deep inside him. Her words, though meant to humiliate, felt like a challenge. A cruel dare, but also, somehow, a chance. For the first time in years, David felt a spark of purpose. In the days that followed, he came early and stayed late. When no one was around, he practiced in secret. At first, his fingers stumbled awkwardly across the keys, stiff and uncooperative after years of silence. But slowly, painfully, the music returned. Not just notes, not just sound, but memory, hope. The essence of who he once was. 1 week later, Veronica was back at the hotel for a glittering fundraiser. The lobby filled with wealthy guests, their laughter echoing under the chandeliers. A jazz trio had been booked, but due to an unexpected cancellation, the piano sat in silence. David saw the moment. With quiet determination, he set aside his gloves, removed his apron, and walked toward the piano. At first, the crowd barely noticed. Some assumed he was just adjusting it, maybe cleaning. But then, he sat down. When his hands touched the keys, the lobby transformed. The haunting, breathtaking beauty of Chopin's melody filled the air, delicate and powerful all at once. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Champagne glasses hovered, forgotten, and Veronica, confident, untouchable Veronica, froze. Her eyes widened in disbelief as she realized the man commanding the room was her janitor. But he wasn't just playing music. He was telling a story, his story, through every note, pain and loss, love and longing, despair and healing. All of it poured out in a language more powerful than words. The hotel lobby, once noisy and glamorous, now felt like a sacred cathedral where every heart bowed before the music. Some guests wept without even knowing why. When the final note faded into silence, no one dared to move. For a few seconds, the room simply held its breath. Then came the applause. First hesitant, then thunderous, a wave of admiration and awe. But David did not smile. He bowed gently, rose from the bench, and walked away. He didn't need to say anything. His music had already spoken louder than words ever could. Later that night, Veronica found him. Her voice, usually sharp and commanding, was soft now, trembling with something unfamiliar. Humility. "Why didn't you ever tell anyone?" she asked quietly. David's answer was simple. "No one ever asked." Her eyes filled with a mixture of regret and respect. That careless joke about marriage was never meant to be real. But David had answered it. Not with arrogance, not with bitterness, but with dignity. From that night on, David was no longer the hotel janitor. Veronica offered him a position as the hotel's resident pianist, where his music could finally live again. But more than the job, something else changed. Veronica herself began to soften. The sharp edges of her pride dulled. She listened more, judged less. Sometimes, she would simply sit beside the piano as David played, hearing not just the music but the story of a man who refused to let his soul be silenced. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Kindness Talks. Every view, every comment, every share helps us spread kindness where it's needed most. And before you go, let me ask you, if you were in David's shoes, what would you have done? Tell us in the comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts, your stories, and your reflections.